Hey, GAT Math students, this is video notes for basic algebra review 7 through 10. So if you don't have your packet, grab your packet, hit pause and go grab your packet. Then we will be turning to this page in the packet. There's 4 objectives today. We're going to be looking at basically solving one-step equations with adding and subtracting. So again, just like the title is, this is a review, kind of basic algebra review. You have done this stuff before, but the purpose is to review it and just to be good at it, not just to see as much math as we can, but to be good at the math we're doing. So again, we're going to kind of be skipping around a little bit. I'll go over a good amount of examples, but since this is a review, I might not do every little tiny thing that I would teach the very first time we'd ever do this, but I will cover probably most of it. So if there is something I miss, send me a message, let me know. I'll either go over it one-on-one with you, make a separate video, whatever we need to do. Okay, so we're going to start on the first page here. We're going to kind of go back and forth. We're going to go number 4 here first. Okay, and this is kind of a very basic one. Most of the time I'm going to kind of just rewrite the problem just to so I can show all the steps. So the basic method of solving these is you find your variable, or in this case x, you figure out what's being done to it. So here you're adding 1 to it. To solve the equation, you want to do the opposite of what's being done to it. So the opposite of adding 1 would be subtracting 1. Now, if you do the same things to both sides of the equation stays true. So if I subtract 1 from here, I'm going to subtract 1 from here. Now, the reason we do that, here we have a +1 and a -1. Those go to 0. So I have just x on this side. I bring down my equal sign. Now here, we can either, I'm going to pull a calculator up here just because we'll probably use it for other problems. Okay, so you could use a calculator on this problem. Okay, so hit 3 negative minus 1, and you get your answer -4. Okay, so you could do that. You could rewrite it over here and say -3 minus 1 and go over, if you remember your rules, minus a positive is same as plus a negative. So we have 3 negatives and 1 more negative. That's -4. However you need to get to the answer, you have -3 minus 1 is a -4. Okay, now especially here with multiple choice, you can always go back and check your answer. If you just go -4 plus 1, is that -3? Yeah. And again, you could use the calculator if you need to do that. Okay, so that's kind of the beginning, one-step equation with adding or subtracting. Number 2, I'm gonna rewrite here just because it looks a little different. I'm gonna write this just a little differently than they do, the way I learned when I was in school. So before I figure out doing the opposite and solving, I'm going to rewrite this. So minus a negative, remember if I change a subtraction to an addition, I change the sign on the next number. So minus a negative is the same as plus a positive. Okay, so that just, I get rid of my subtraction, I have an addition, it's just easier to work with. So now I have x plus 19 equals 36. So the opposite, now I'm going to try to solve it. The opposite of adding 19, subtracting 19. Okay, so then on this side, those cancel out or go to 0. 36 minus 19 is 17. Again, if you need to use a calculator for that, go ahead. And your answer is 17 there. Okay. And again, as we go through all these, if there's ones you don't understand, maybe circle them and then ask me a question. Send me a message after this. For now, just go through and copy everything. But ones you don't understand, maybe circle and ask me a question on after. Hey, you're gonna go down to, we're gonna skip some problems and come back. We're gonna go going back and forth. So you're gonna turn all the way to number 16. Okay, just kind of another basic one. We're gonna go x minus 4 equals -1. So the -4, that's what's being done to x. We're gonna do the opposite, and we're gonna add 4 to each side. So this side we get just x, because -4 and +4 cancel each other out. Here we get -1 plus 4, so 1 negative, 4 positives. That means there's 3 more positives. And our answer is x equals 3. Okay. So those are kind of the start and the basic problems. Okay. I'm going to turn back to problem number 10. Not really much harder. We're just going to start involving decimals and fractions now. So decimals won't be much different at all. Okay. You may have to use a calculator more, but the steps are going to be the exact same. X is having 2.5 added to it, so the opposite of that is subtract 2.5. So we get x equals 6.5 minus 2.5. It's 4.5. Oops, no, I'm going too fast there. 6.5 minus 2.5 is just 4. Okay. Okay, good thing it's multiple choice, but I had one a little bit wrong. I didn't need to change this subtraction to a plus and negative because this number is bigger than this number, so it's just 6.5 minus 2.5. Answer is 4. Okay. Now I'm just going to go to the problem right before it. Okay, now this is where people tend to start to freak out. We got fractions involved. Okay, I am going to show you 2 different ways on this problem, and then probably just one way in the future. Okay, so I will show you how to do it with fractions. If you're good with fractions, and will remember how to work with fractions, that'll be probably the faster way. But if not, and you freak out with fractions and stuff, I'll show you how to do this without fractions. So the way we're going to do this without fractions, really, the one reason we can do this is because it's multiple choice. Okay, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So what we're going to do is change this to decimals. So we're going to go x minus. Now change the decimals. Anytime you have a fraction, remember, you you go top divided by bottom. 3 divided by 9 equals 0.3 repeating. So now remember to make note of that by putting the line over the top. Okay. Then equals, I need to go 5 divided by 11. Now it's 0.45454545. So that means that's the 4, 5 is repeating. So I put the 4 and 5 down with a line over both of those. Okay. So now it's in decimal. Now I follow the same steps. X has 0.3 repeating subtracted from it. So the opposite of that is adding 0.3 repeating. If I do it to that side, I have to do it to this side. Okay. So now, if you still have this in your calculator, you can leave it. Otherwise, you'd have to hit 5 divided by 11 again to get this in there. Now make sure you don't just use 0.45. Okay. Now your calculator might not go this many numbers, but if you hit 5 divided by 11, it should be 0.454545 and continue on. Then hit minus, or sorry, plus. And now hit point, not just 0.3, you need to keep going. Now yours is probably going to be done right about there. I'm just going to keep going, do a ton of them. Now what you see is, and it kind of rounds off here at the end, but basically you see the pattern here, 0.78, 78, 78. So my answer here is 0.78 repeating because it kept going like that. So now what we can do is we have to check these answers. So it's 0.78, meaning there's no whole number in front. So two of these I can cross off right away. This has a 7 whole number in front. Our answer has no whole number. This has an 8 in front. Okay, so those two are gone. So now we check both of these. Okay, and now problems in the future, I'm not going to retype everything in the calculator and show you, but I'll just show you here again. What you do is you type in 8 divided by 99, and that's 0.08 repeating. So that doesn't match this, so this is out. Now, so our answer should be this, but let's just double check, make sure we didn't do something wrong. Okay, so we're going to go top divided by bottom, so 26 divided by 33. There's my 0.78 repeating, just like there. 78 repeating, there's my answer. All right, the other way we can do this. Now, if you know you're not going to do fractions, you can probably skip ahead until you see me start the next problem. Okay, and you can just write, if you know you're not going to do fractions, write no fractions here and skip to the next problem. Okay, if you're good with fractions, remember how to do fractions. And this would be a quicker way of doing it then if you remember fractions. So what I'm going to do is we need to get common denominators here. So meaning a number that both 9 and 11 go into. Now ideally the smallest number that would work is the best one to find, and in this case it happens to be when you multiply the two together, it's 99. Okay, there's not a smaller number that they both go into. So we know we want 99 on the bottom of both. Now to get there, we had to multiply the bottom by 11, so we need to do the same to the top. So the top here would be 33/99. So that's the same as 3/9. To get the 99 on the bottom here, we'd have to multiply this bottom by 9, so we multiply the top by 9, and we get 45/99. Now we do the same steps. This is being subtracted from x, so we want to do the opposite. Add it to both sides. These cancel out, so we get x equals, now when you add fractions, the bottom stays the same. You add the top, you get 78/99. Now that's not reduced. So again, you could change it to a fraction and kind of do the same, or a decimal and do the same process over here. Or you can see what numbers go into both. And the only number that goes into both is 3, so we're going to simplify the fraction by dividing top and bottom by 3. You get 33 on the bottom, you get 26 on the top. There's your answer. So again, this is if you're remember fractions or pretty good at fractions, this would be faster in a more exact way. Okay, but this chapter really isn't necessarily on working with fractions, so I just want you to make sure you learn how to solve these equations. So if you need to do this way, do that way. Okay, all right, we're going to skip ahead to 15. Just do one more. I won't do the fraction method on this one just to save some time, but if you want help with the fraction method, let me know, and I will definitely help you do it that way. Okay, so this one, we're going to change them to decimals. So we're going to go, again, 3 divided by 14. Now what's not nice with this one is the decimals get pretty sloppy. Okay, and so Eventually you start seeing a little bit of a repeat in there with the 714 and stuff. So either with the calculator you have, yours won't have that many numbers if you're using your phone. You know, maybe go at 6 numbers or something. When I did this on my phone calculator, I think it went to that, and that's more than enough. But you want to get, you don't want to just go 0.21 either. Okay, then plus D equals, now 1/2, you should know that one. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay, now people sometimes get confused because we're used to, if we see a plus, we're used to solve, we're used to subtracting what's ever after the plus. Well, the order is different here. Okay, we want the D by itself, so we want to get rid of this. So we look at this number, it's a positive number, so we will subtract this number from both sides. Okay, over here that goes to 0, so we bring this down, we get the D. Okay, now over here, it's going to be a little annoying to type in, but we're going to go 0.5 minus 0.214, however many numbers you wrote down. 571. Okay, it equals, and it looks like a very similar number, but we get 0.28571429. Okay, so now we got to do like we did before. We have to test these. Okay, so meaning over here, we have to go 5 divided by 7. That equals 0.714, so that's out. We're going to go 2 divided by 7, 0.28571, 0.28571. That should be the correct answer. Now you could go check these, you know, especially if this is a test, check these ones and see what they are. This comes out to be like 0.27 repeating. This comes out to be 0.017 something, so those are both out. Okay. Then we're going to go back. We're getting closer to being done here. This is a little longer than the last one. 8, kind of a mini word problem, but it should be fairly simple to set up. It says when a number, so when it says something like that, when a number, that's when you use a variable. So I'm going to write X is decreased by. Decreased means take away. So subtract by 31. The result, or another word for that, means it equals -24. And it says find the number. So now we just solve this. X minus 31, so we want to add 31. Do that to both sides. Those cancel out. Equals -24 plus 31. Again, you could use a calculator, or there's 7 more positives than there are negatives. So our answer is 7. Okay. Next is number 11. Now, there is a way to do this kind of with algebra, but what gets a little confusing here is the negative in front of the X. I think for now, with these type of problems where it says like which number satisfies the equations, I think it's going to be fastest for you just to do a guess and check. Okay? Meaning, if you said the answer is 9, 6 minus 9 would give you -3. So that's out. Let's try 3. 6 minus 3, that's 3. There's our answer. Okay, so that's all you'd have to do on a problem like that. Okay. Again, we're going to skip ahead to another problem, kind of like that we're going to do by guess and check. Number 19, again, we will figure out how to solve. This would be a multi-step problem, and if you remember how to do that, go ahead and do it. But in this chapter or section, they'll give you numbers that are easy to work with by just using the choices here and seeing which one works. Now again, there's a fraction in here, so don't let that screw with you. It could be the answer, it might not be the answer, but this isn't super hard to do. What you're going to be doing is just throwing the number in for x and seeing which one would work. Okay. So, meaning 5 next to an x means multiply. So if 10 was the answer, that would mean you do 5 times 10 is 50 plus 3, that should equal 53. So if the answer was 10, this would equal 53. We want it to equal 7, so that's out. Let's skip the fraction for now. Let's try 4. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 would equal 23, not 7, so that's out. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Again, not 7, it's 13. That's out. So this should be our answer. Now, if you for sure were positive on these three that it wasn't it, you could just be done now. Otherwise, you could test it out. 5 times x. If we're saying x is 4/5 and we don't want to do fractions, we could say, okay, 4 divided by 5 is 0.8. So we'd have 5 times 0.8 plus 3 equals 7. You take your calculator, 5 times 0.8, it's going to give you 4. Plus 3 equals 7. That's true. And there's our answer. Okay. 3 problems left and we're done. I'm going to go all the way back. First page of the section. We're going to look at word problems. Now these word problems actually aren't too bad when you think of word problems. So let's just go over them quick. So the Kims traveled 971.5 miles to pick up the new boat. At the end of the trip, the odometer read 21,275.9 miles. What did the odometer read at the beginning of the trip? So there are a few different ways of doing this problem, a few different ways of setting it up. Whatever makes sense to you is fine. What I just think is kind of going in order. We have a beginning mileage, which we're looking for. We don't know that. We'll add on to that. We traveled 971.5 miles. At the end, it equaled this. Okay, so now we just solve. The beginning, we were adding 971.5, so to solve, we're going to subtract. Okay, and we do that math. You know, use your calculator for sure on this one. We get the letter A for an answer. Okay. So again, it might take you a little bit longer to type that in the calculator and stuff. I've typed that in already. Okay. Number 5, be careful. Number 5 looks to be almost the exact same problem. It's very similar words, things like that. Talks about a trip, beginning, end, stuff like that. But it's a little bit different information they give you. Okay, so you're not going to solve it like this one. So the Martins traveled 511.6 miles on a road trip. That's the same as what it says up here. Okay. The odometer read 30,108.7 miles at the beginning of the trip. So that's the opposite of what the last problem was. What did the odometer read at the end? So really, the way I would do this problem, you don't even have to solve an equation. Okay. If I just go in order again, at the beginning, we started with this. Then we traveled this far. And we want to know, well, how much was there at the end? Well, all you do is add these two together. By the end of the trip, that's how many miles we had. Again, it's letter A. Okay. One more problem. Go to number 17. Last word problem. Okay. Now again, there's fractions involved, but don't freak out at that. It said that on Saturday, Kwan walked to Nari's house and then walked with Nari to the mall. Okay, at the end of the day, she was picked up and taken home. So there's no walking at the end. So this is all about walking to the mall. That's all that sentence means. It says, if Kwan walked a total of 3.5 miles, 2 3/4 of it with Nari, how many miles did Kwan walk to Nari's house? Okay. So there's the order, you could put this a different way, but if we went and way to describe it, she walked some miles, then she walked with Nari to the mall. That was 2 3/4 miles. And it said at the end, so she, including this, had walked 3.5 miles. So Kwan walked by herself for some distance. She walked 2 3/4 miles with Nari, and that all added up to 3.5 miles. Okay, so again, you could do this with fractions. If not, change it to decimals. This is easier. 2 3/4. Hopefully, you know 3/4 is 0.75. So 2 3/4 would be 2.75. Again, if you didn't remember that, take 3 divided by 4. Gives you 0.75. 3.5. Again, probably should know that's 3.5. Now you just solve. We're adding 2.75 to what she walked in the beginning. So to solve, we subtract 2.75. Okay. So when we solve that, 3.5 minus 2.75 is 0.75. Now again, it's fractions and multiple choice. So we look here, there's no whole number in front. So this is out because it has 6 as a whole number. This is out because it has 6 as a whole number. Okay. Well, now it says 0.75. We know that's not 1, so this is our answer. Again, if we didn't know, we could check and say 3 divided by 4. Yes, it's 0.75. Okay. All right, so I haven't pre-circled these, but let's go to the end and circle which ones we did here. Just to help you out if you're looking for which ones we did. 2, 4, and 16. We did 10, 9, 15. We did 8, 11, 19, and then 3, 5, and 17. Okay, so again, the purpose of this page, besides just checking your answers, okay, is if you're checking your answers and you don't understand, like if you were doing 26 and you don't know why the answer was C, look in this section that we did 2 problems in that same section. So one of them should be like that. Okay. All right. So get those copied down, send me the pics, you get the points for the notes. I do suggest you try some other problems, check your answers, see if you're ready for the test. When you are ready for the test, let me know. Okay, again, let me know if you have any questions or need any help.